Hello.
Hello. Yeah, so Jenny was talking to Jenny, and we thought we'd just go ahead and put it out there for the rest of you too. I'm working on right now with Tim to transcribe or to type up the content of these videos, because it is very different listening to them and then reading them yourself. So they'll be in the episodes. So we'll have episode 1 transcript, episode 2 transcript, and so on. Eventually we'll build up to having the whole thing together, but they're going to be saved in PDF. In the description below, if you're interested in the transcripts to be able to read what we're talking about and what Tim is sharing from his writings, then just email us at that Gmail address there, and we'll be happy to send it to you so you can.
Yeah, it's stardragonbrood@gmail.com. And just to let you know why are we doing this? Why we didn't do the others and whatever? Because this is coming in a fountain. I mean, it's nonstop.
Amazing.
I'm at page, look at this. I'm at a page 105.
Page 100.
I'm at page 105. We did a reading. I read her what I had up to date last night.
Yes.
Before she went to bed. And then I've already done 8 more pages.
Yes. So it's just constant.
And I mean, it just keeps getting better. I know it's mine, but it's not mine.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it just keeps getting deeper, and it starts to map out a lot of different things. And yeah, we just felt like that having it in writing so people could read it and things like that.
We want to share this for free.
Yes.
There is no hook. There's no what this or what about that. No. You put request transcript in your subject line. You send an email to that. We're going to send you a PDF by episode.
Yes.
And if you want to continue it, you just say, "Can you send me episode 2?" And you'll get episode. We'll just attach it to the email. Gina would probably come from Gina. And you'll get that episode. If you want 2, 3, and 4, you just stipulate that in the email.
Yep. And I have 1 typed. I'm working on 2. So, if you send it in, be patient with me. It takes me a little bit to type it, but not too bad. So send it back send me your request, and I will get it to you as soon as I have it typed and ready to go. So, but 1's ready if you like that episode. So, yeah.
We're excited about sharing it because it is so, I mean, this is me. This is not the sentence structure exactly, but I was just telling her, this is how I work through problems. And this is what's going on here as I'm working through these exact problems.
These are questions you had, and as you're looking through the questions.
Right, but some of it is in symbolic form, which is how I get some of my things. Some of it's direct. So if you want to know why I switch and use different analogies for that, and it's just what came to me in the moment.
Yeah. Good.
So. Alrighty then. Okay, so let's start 7:22.
Perfect.
Let me start the clock. Start the clock. Reset. Start. Alrighty. So we're gonna pick up where we left off. Oh, I got my new mobile desk, my $7 mobile desk. It opens up. It's plastic and it has a little clasp on it. I feel like I won the lottery.
You're like official now.
We splurged all that what's the, not YouTube.
Yeah, Patreon.
All that Patreon cash that we have. Oh, wait a minute. We don't have Patreon. Sorry. We forgot the part about making money. We forgot it. We just did not insert that. It's too late now.
I'm not interested in it either. I mean, I want to be able to have my needs met, but I have no desire to make any money.
I want to go on record right now to say I apologize for not charging you.
Yeah, we had this discussion because, a lot of people think, well, if it's free, it's not valuable, but this is extremely deep and I mean, it could easily be a book that's
Mhm.
coming through here, but yeah,
It's this
that's not the
knowledge.
intent. We
This
wanted
knowledge
everybody to
is
have
too
it.
valuable to charge for.
Exactly.
Sorry, but that's just the way
Exactly.
we feel.
Hmm.
It is. I mean, I wish you could be where I'm at as far as on the page, the number that I'm at, and you would probably get some of my giddiness, but
Yeah.
we'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
So here we go. All right. Remember, we left off, we were still in level 3 manifestation. We left off on sample 5, perceiving and imagining your path to expanded living, where we were on the boat, manifesting our everyday needs and wants, then blooping to wherever we wanted, and then blooping back to home, blooping back home to be beacons to expanded living. As in sample 4, this isn't about a 1-year trip. It's about us expanding our living from base living and what we do with it. I postulated about sharing and coming together in communities of light as the waves of people begin to question their base living existence and seek out expanded living. You may have another calling. That's for you to discern. But as we move out of base living, do we do it as individuals or as interconnected groups of consciousness? I have this feeling that we are on the cusp of something so grand and encompassing that it will bring us as newly awakened pilots into a cosmic world of interconnectedness that will shake the very foundation of the old paradigm we once thought of as home. If you can quiet the programmed mind for a moment, you can get a sense of its coming. What will this mean to our established lives and base living? My expanded beliefs tell me this will permeate to our core and unveil capabilities and wonders that will reshape everything we thought we knew down to our daily lives. I sense a purpose and role for each and every one of us, no exclusions. Those who expand to know theirs will dive in to assist those who insist on being fashionably late to the party. But there is no late to a party that will span decades, even centuries of discovery and exploration. This will be beyond mere enlightenment, industrializing space age development of old, where we were really fed last generation's hand-me-down ideas of false freedom, toy technology, and staged philanthropy. What we're getting ready to see, feel, and experience will take your breath away, supercharge it with saturated oxygen, add helium so you can squeal like the little girl in you, and add a new element called unobtainium that will overpower your hungry imagination into bodybuilding proportions, all to be intravenously jacked back into your Hulk-like or woman persona you came here to be. Believe it or not yet, your role and the accompanying experience of world exploration beyond any movie or novel you've ever seen is just now coming into your orbit. While you slowly awaken from your self-imposed slumber of innocence, our benefactors have been preparing a legend-worthy, paradigm-shifting, mind-altering, phoenix rising, upcoming, salvation chapter for our experience. Pre-production scripts are being sent out as I write this. You don't have to sign up for this. You are now rising to the occasion. You're just looking for an explanation on what the heck is going on. Like I wrote earlier, we have been getting run down, overworked, and starved of worthy action that our benefactors took notice and put their creative juices together to revamp the script. One that takes time to develop, not for them, but for us to adapt to the new storyline. They read our hearts, they read our hearts and realized that we actually do love this creative world of art. We just don't love the way the script has deteriorated. So instead of tearing down the set and sending everyone home, they're firing the director, hiring a new one, and inserting a new, long overdue, slap your mama, dress up the kids, we're going out for fun storyline after consulting with all our hearts. It's gonna be amazing. They've spared no expense. That's from Jurassic Park. They don't owe it to us. They've just tired of watching reruns of Dallas and the lame director's attempts at reworking the Who Shot JR storyline. They want true, all-inspiring action worthy of their attention and ours. Bragging rights are on the line, girls and boys, so you best hitch up those britches because Dorothy ain't in Kansas anymore. So, how will we proceed from this? You have to pass the law to see what's in it. And here, hold my beer, watch this idiocy. To the giddy, squeal like a little girl, slap your mama, I'm going to pee my pants storyline. Well, proceeding gracefully is a bit much to expect due to the clowns in DC and the ones holding court on TV. Think more along the lines of, I can't believe he did and said that on TV, or what were they thinking? With a bit of, holy crap, did you see that? Thrown in. Of course, that's for the masses that are still tuned into the stooge tube. But for those whose TVs mainly serve as decorative wall art and eschew the latest pop culture gossip, some very interesting and eye-opening events are about to unfold that will help usher in an imaginative start to the rollout of expanded living. A little shock to the system, or maybe not so little to some, will begin the adjustment phase of the coming attractions. Everyone will be shocked by something. How much and for how long will depend on how vested and tight-gripped one is to the existing system. This will actually be for the good of each of us, as this adjustment phase will highlight the ropes that tie us to the dying hulk of a boat destined for the ocean bottom of history before its fuel bunkers ignite into flames and its remaining carcass is torpedoed for the safety of navigation concerns. How do you know what ropes keep you tied to the last of a dying regime? Look to the limits and look to what limits and binds you, makes you small, and drains the power from your imagination and dreaming big. Just as old, bloated stars must give up their decaying life to explode into new, wondrous creations, you don't have to be one of its inner planets caught up in its wake of destruction. Sensing the coming demolition, change your orbit in preparation for the follow-on reconstruction. It really is that simple of a choice to vacate the path of the foreshadowed wrecking ball. Choose to utilize that insight we're all capable of and make the hard decisions to best position yourself for the start of the fireworks and subsequent grand opening of celebrations, while respecting those who elect a harsher climb to their mountaintop. Set yourself up to be at your best, or as near as, while those around you may be at their worst, so that you can assist them as the beacon on the hill lighting the way. This is change, a really heavy dose of it. Some always see the light in it, while many others just don't, no matter the all but assured, glorious, promise to all nature of it. Some call these people optimists and pessimists, but in my reality, there are those that perceive from the sight of their imagination, and there are those who chose to close themselves off from it. Do you know how difficult it is to be optimistic when you've relegated yourself to the darkened chamber of the amusement park's visitor center without your perception's version of a flashlight, much less the imagination to see yourself at the park's controls ready to flip the lights on? These beautiful sparks of creation call out, "Don't leave me here all alone in the dark," wanting only empathy and an example of escape, not labels, nor the silence of indifference. I don't know about you, but I can't, nor won't abandon them. Even if it's only to consider their plight, or occasionally walk the perimeter of their darkened enclosure, in the hopes that the shine of my perspective finds a reflective surface that provides them some light when they're ready.
Mm-hmm.
This is not to say I'm going to take away their struggle or even reduce it. No more than I would interrupt an Olympian's training by doing their workouts for them. Many of you want to help, and I applaud your empathetic hearts. But are your attempts to help altogether altruistic and for their highest good? Here's where I get real, since I've been softballing it up till now. Much, but not all, of our aid has been offered in response to a lack we ourselves possess, or to alleviate a need we have. Their need just happens to be the excuse we use to justify exercising our demons. And yes, I said exercising, not exorcising. Many of us are hard pressed to correctly diagnose our own problems, but by golly, we'll jump right in there and diagnose someone else's problems. This doesn't make us bad people, just misinformed, logic-led, dare I say, hypocritical, yet loving teenagers who dispense malformed, uninitiated, yet well-intentioned advice to the unsuspecting. We want to help. We just don't have the experience or know-how to hit their target. Finding a solution with true efficacy is dependent on navigating their skew of the issue, then avoiding our own skew of bias and pretentiousness. That may sound harsh, but our programming all but assures it. This sabotage was benefactor inserted to reinforce the idea that our priority is to gain experience on as many problems as possible, not on the quick and efficient resolution to said problems. It's about internal growth, not on external solutions. To that end, someone who doesn't have the experience with a problem nor the inward growth to resolve it with efficacy and the perspective growth to correctly diagnose another and guide them with both parties' highest good, more than likely that someone won't be resolving that problem for anyone. Mm-hmm. Instead, our benefactors cater to experiencers with expanding growth, broadening perspectives, and a maturity of experience and guidance. What that amounts to, and of course, this is my perspective, is we may not actually be helping anyone when we attempt to aid unless we've gained the experience in dealing with their problem ourselves, and we've expanded our perspective beyond our own skew to be able to guide them and ourselves for the highest good of all impacted parties. In base living, helping someone may be like cheating in an 11th grade biology class where you give a fellow student answers to an exam to help them. You may have helped to resolve their short-term problem, but you may have inadvertently created another issue for them and another for yourself. Their own issue is they may not have learned the material. And your issue is that you caused that issue not to be resolved. Not to mention, they may now become dependent on you for answers. Without expanded living growth in perspective, do we have the insight to ask relevant questions and provide the best guidance? Because if we do not, aren't they the best suited to address their own problems? If the priority is on experience and growth and not on convenient problem removal and solutions? If we were all sent here to train for the Olympics, this scenario takes on a new perspective of relevancy. At some point, one or both of you should be asking, is the best help being offered? And are they being guided to be at their best, at their peak, when the Olympic Games begin? I'm certainly not saying we should never help anyone. Far from it. My perspective is you also came here to become a good, insightful aid worker for their benefit and yours, but most importantly, to experience. For a good aid worker, the first relevant question to ask yourself is, will your help be a net positive? Then how and how much help do you provide? And then what are the impacts to all involved? Most in base living may not be in any position to ask these questions, much less to ascertain the answers. So ultimately, we blindly help and hope for the best. I'll stop there for now.
Yeah, that is so true.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Olympian training as an analogy, because
Really, yeah.
we often think when we see somebody struggling, we need to lighten that load or remove things from them to help them, when that keeps them weak. So it's
It
just,
could, yes, very easily.
So it's kind of like assessing how much is sometimes people need a finger, but they don't need something completely removed. And sometimes they just need an encouragement. So it's gauging what that is and what is the best, by tapping into the heart and the wisdom and your own experience. What you were talking about before is, if you've gone through it before, you know what it's like.
Well, it doesn't necessarily give you answers to their problem.
No.
Even if it seems like the same problem.
Yeah, exactly, because it's not.
But
yeah.
I mean, this also highlighted a very important point. Oftentimes we're helping people, not for their help mainly. Right. It's mainly because we're exercising some demon we have.
I was listening today to some, and it sparked it, was we as empaths or people with open hearts, we tend to feel the pain of other people's situation. And so to relieve that pain from us, we help them, versus it being the best thing for them. It's like to relieve the discomfort for us. It's oftentimes our motivation when it isn't the best help for them. So I thought that was very important and good.
Yeah, I used to get my self-esteem from that too, being needed. So it was like I had to be needed. So I kept myself in a position to be needed, by continuing to help someone who didn't need help.
Yeah, the thing is, this isn't telling you have to do something.
Right.
Right.
This is just kind of giving you a heads up that these energies are now entering our space,
Yeah.
where people start to, oh wow, they start saying no.
Right.
Hey, will you help me with this? No. What do you mean no? You always help me. Yeah, but right now I'm feeling love for you, and I believe that you need to do this yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't do it. Well, see, that's where you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you begin your journey, is the first thing you say to yourself, I can't do it. Well, then that's exactly what you're going to manifest.
Because then when they say I can't do it, it also means, I mean, if you fall into that and you believe they can't do it and you do it for them, you've not instilled confidence in them at all.
Yep.
So if you say, but you can do it, you know, and you're saying, I know you can do it, then you're instilling that confidence in them. And once they do it and they see they can do it, it just makes them stronger.
Or at least saying, you can do it, and I'll help guide you, but you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, all right,
Good.
I will continue.
Tears out of my eyes, I gotta say.
Let's focus on just you and I for a bit. No one else. You're dealing with your experience and I'm dealing with mine. Let's say I come to you for help with a work-related issue that doesn't involve any other people, just figuring out a technical challenge. I explain the issue to you, and during the explanation, you give me a great idea I never thought of. I apply your idea, and it works great. Did you resolve my problem? Or did I just use you for me to resolve my issue? If I never talked to you about the problem, would I still be grappling with it, or would I have found another way to resolve it? If it wasn't a life and death type issue, would it really matter if I resolved it or not? Or was it just a matter of convenience? You just kept me from it continuing to struggle with it, thereby altering my experience of the issue. Is that good or bad? Depends on the criteria. Let's instead say that I talked to 100 other people and no one else had the expertise to help me resolve my issue. I never talked to you about it for whatever reason. At that point, I determine I've got two choices. One, the issue stays unresolved. Or two, I figure it out myself. Option one leads me to live without the resolution. Option two is the most difficult for me, since there will be no simple resolution handed to me from someone else. I would need to learn how to resolve this issue by breaking it down enough for me to identify the stumbling blocks, learn how those stumbling blocks work, and then develop a plan. Next, I do some trial and error, which leads to more insight, and then more trial and error. Eventually, I either give up and suffer doing without, or I figure it all out, gaining the experience of confronting my own issue and resolving it. If you had helped me, I never even would have had a chance to experience resolving my own issue. Yet you would have gained the experience of helping me. So, in asking you for help, did I lose an opportunity to experience growth, and you gained an opportunity to experience growth in giving aid? From your standpoint, agreeing to help me, you gained experience aiding me, and you gained a good feeling providing help while taking an opportunity for growth away from me. From my standpoint, receiving help from you, I gained a short-term solution in the form of a problem removed from my concern, while I lost an opportunity for growth, and I now feel I owe you. So net, in receiving help from you, I'm at a loss, and you And by you giving help to me, you're at a gain. You know, thanks for your help, but no thanks. Now, granted, this is a very simplistic view of the scenario, and there are various other points of interest, but this is a simple best case scenario. I ask you for help, you provide a solution, it works as provided, I feel indebted to you, and you feel all fuzzy inside for being helpful, and you are in receipt of my debt to you.
Mhm.
In this simple solution, if this simple solution is even remotely possible, it opens at least a view that giving aid is more beneficial to the giver than the receiver. So maybe, just maybe, there's a perspective that offering or responding to the request for help should be scrutinized much more heavily by the person who is in the position of providing aid, if that person is truly concerned for the overall welfare of the person requesting help. Otherwise, there's a possibility of the aid provider, I'm sorry, otherwise, there's a possibility the aid provider could be taking advantage and thereby shortchanging the potential aid receiver. I acknowledge this perspective on this scenario can take many twists and turns, and of course, there are other perspectives. But shouldn't we, as potential aid workers, consider this perspective if our intent is altruistic? I know by formulating this scenario, working through the exercise and writing it down succinctly, then scrutinizing my own analysis has led me to heighten my concern on this topic. How can I not, if there's any chance I may inadvertently take from someone I intend to aid? Again, I know it's more complicated than that. But if strictly speaking, but if strictly looking at this from a growth point of view and not a problem resolution one, we should at least consider this perspective. Perspectives are funny little creatures. Some of us think we can don another's shoes and gain their perspective, but are we? I sense that we have the capacity, but are we doing it when in base living with our own programming and limited imagination? We also have a limited perspective on our own experience and while in base living. So hold on, we're going deeper into perspective. This section is called Perspective on Perspective. What if we were configured for only one perspective while in base living? Otherwise, we could get all confused, commingling views of different lives while on autopilot. Even the thought of taking on another perspective is but your view of their view, like sharing a screen during a video call. You're seeing their screen, but it's on your screen. How they operate it is not how you would operate it. Say you take over their screen. Now, how you operate it is not like they would operate it. So did either of you gain the other's perspective? Maybe to some extent. In the moment of sharing, are you not still evaluating the other's view with your own thoughts, feelings, doubts, etc., as if it was happening to you? Maybe that's the idea of gaining someone else's perspective. But maybe beyond base living, there's more to be gained. Is there a way to view their screen and feel what they are dealing with in that moment? Otherwise, aren't we just viewing a snapshot or a facsimile of their perspective taken out of context? Without its full history, including the person's will, intent, state of their imagination, wants, needs, how how that burrito they had last night is making them feel. Oh, wait a minute, break time. I need some. Without that context, what are we really gaining? Maybe that's what a perspective is in base living, an out of context snapshot. If so, then what's it called when gaining the full context with their feeling? In base living, that idea may be too far out there. Our imagination hasn't expanded enough to wrap our heads around that. But if we don't have that yet, what are we really doing when we think we're taking someone's perspective? I see it as me grabbing an out of context snapshot, then proceeding to evaluate it with my will, my intent, my imagination, my wants, my needs, and my upset stomach, but only because I imagined what it would feel like to eat that burrito, because I didn't actually have it. They did. But that last item about imagining I ate the burrito brings up an important point. Do we have the capacity in base living to imagine their perspective? We can understand limited facets of it from our own standpoint, bringing it into our bubble to view our own screen. Then we analyze it with our I win. That's I intent, W will, W wants, I imagination, and needs. I win. Got that? Okay, so then we analyze it with our I win, come up with a solution, throw it back to them in their bubble, and pat ourselves on the back for solving their problem. Oh.
We're so awesome.
We are. But did we really enter their perspective and provide them valuable growth? Oh, sure. Some of our recommendations slotted in and bared some kind of fruit. But isn't that more associated with blind squirrels and stop clocks? Oh, squirrel, where? So what I'm saying is blind squirrels finding nuts and stop clocks are right twice a day. What really happened, though? From a perspective, I could say you stole their problem and an experience they may have catered for them, lived that experience of the problem yourself, then tossed your version of the final product back to them. If you don't know and feel their I win, and therefore used your own, you basically gave them your solution to their problem. If that's all we're looking to do when we help people, then let's be honest with ourselves and admit the limits and drawbacks. The limits to me helping you are: one, I'm probably going to get more out of this than you are. Two, I don't really know you and your I win. Three, my understanding of your problem is limited by number two. Number four, I don't really share your perspective. Five, my solution is not for your highest good, because I don't know what that is due to numbers 2, 3, and 4. Number 6, you will lose the full growth potential of the experience, because 7, I will take the experience as my own and grow by helping you. And 8, you will be left with a scaled down version of the problem experience growth, but possibly gain a solution and possibly a removal of your problem. If we can see the possibility of this view, we might be moving toward sharing other perspectives. Otherwise, if we believe we are already sharing other perspectives, then we believe we have nothing to fix in that regard. Of course, that's naive, but aren't we all in base living? Being naive is being unaware of the existence of something. That sets our start point in knowing that we don't share perspectives. Now we use our imagination of seeing ourselves sharing perspectives and how that makes us feel to set the end point. Then we set our will in wanting it, followed by our intent to look for opportunities to make it happen. After that, it's all about manifesting and experiencing it. Oh crap! I just jumped ahead to the section on how to manifest. Forget everything I said after naive. You know, just act, naive. Oh, just forget it. The dragon is out of the bag, so may as well discuss it. All right, I'll stop there.
Nice. Yeah. Very good. Yeah. Yeah, it's so crystal clear. It's like the perspective shift of helping.
And I get to act.
Yeah.
I suck at it, but I get to act. All I ask is you lie to me. That's all I ask, and tell me I'm good. That's all I ask.
That's funny.
That's good.
Are we good?
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay, the next one is a perspective on dragon naivety around. Okay, did you get that? All right. We are all naive. It's a founding principle of this experience in this world, in each of our lives. Naivety is a gift from our benefactors. It sets the stage for wonder and growth. For us, it is the blanket thrown over all that is, keeping its contents hidden. It is the starting point for all experience. Without naivety, there would be no reason for exploration, wanting, and living. If all knowing, all being is the spectrum's end all be all, the beginning of that spectrum is naivety. It is the port from which we sail as novel sailors, hoping for a voyage of a lifetime and the storage holds full of treasures. But before we leave the docks and truly begin our voyage, we must accept the gift of our naivety by booking passage on a ship. Choosing otherwise signifies a lack in readiness or the contentedness of naivety's warm blanket. Unfortunately, naivety's warmth fades over time, for its worth is in the gradual unveiling of its secrets. Accepting naivety as our gift sets the start point for our voyage. This is heart talk for I have a void I wish to fill. Communicating this through your heart to your benefactor creates an order for your trip, which then only awaits its direction from your imagination. Admitting through heart talk that you are naive is your acceptance of your benefactor's gift. And as mentioned, this begins your voyage. Once you've done this without reservation, you may as well settle in and enjoy the ride because for all intents and purposes, you can do no wrong. All your approvals will have been given, excuse me, and all conditions will have been met for your trip. The thing is, though, Acceptance is a difficult condition to grant oneself. Prior to acceptance, one's stance is in the state of unacceptance, which is the refusal to recognize your true purpose, the gifts that have been bestowed upon you, and that you will limit yourself to whatever programmed roles and constraints the system deems appropriate. This equates to staying on autopilot and restricting your experience to the benign life of programming. Granting yourself acceptance is the breaking of your chains by releasing the system from the management of your welfare and the recognition of your gifts and abilities to oversee your own experience and be responsible for your own growth. This is a significant decision and amounts to a leap of faith away from the perceived safety and security of limits, borders, walls, instructions, status quo, and designated roles, and leaping into the unknown world of potential, what if, imagination, conscious manifestation, unbelievable growth, and untethered freedom. Entering this unknown world is the true lifting of the veil to see what's under naivety's blanket. You will remember a life of limits, but live a life without them. This will be your doorway, your portal to expanded living. But first, you must accept the dragon of your naivety. Okay, the next one is a perspective on entering your dragon. To accept that you are naive summons your dragon. Symbiotic, you know that word.
Yes.
Your fears must be recognized before your dragon will appear. Your dragon is fearless, protective, nurturing, blunt yet cryptic. She or he will never give up territory without your say-so. Yet, you have been without your dragon for eons. Why is that? And how did it happen? Following your orders, your fire breather stayed behind in first world. The one outside this one, when you volunteered to enter second world. See, first world was our arrival world after being sent by our benefactors and following our passage through the node. That was the world we were originally inserted into to explore and experience. That world, unlike this one, offers wonders and delights on a regular basis. One of our capabilities there is to summon dragons who accompany us on excursions, assist us with tasks, and act as our second consciousness, for they see through our eyes and we through theirs. Well, long story sort of short, some other advanced being or group of beings, not really sure, that part's kind of fuzzy after coming through a second node, but I digress. That advanced being figured out how to create a world within a world. Some of us, not me, but many others jumped at the chance to explore this world. Off they went while I was still exploring first world with my gold-living companion. Many turns of the axis later, that's really long time in first world speak, okay? And nary a peep had been heard from the second worlders. Eventually, a second group was asked to come check in with the first group to see what amazing discoveries they had made. See, there was never any concern for their safety, since nothing terrible ever happens in first world unless someone purposely manifests it. Anyway, each of us in the second group were outfitted with comm devices, just in case. Before we left, we were told that the nodes to second world didn't allow the passage of our dragons, which just about caused a riot. In any event, we coaxed and cajoled our dragons to stay in first world while we proceeded on to second world. So here I am in second world, along with all you rebel dragon riders without your dragons. Since coming here, this is what I found out. The condensed version. When the first group arrived, this world was paradise. Somewhere down the line of time, another group here in Second World set up and ran an encapsulation program which bound virtually everyone to this world. At first, not many knew what was going on and didn't really care, since the program kept everyone preoccupied playing roles. Eventually, they figured out enough to realize they were trapped, and you, were dying to get out. First, figuratively, and then later, literally. Death, however, doesn't release us from this world like it does in other worlds. This trap we're in just recycles us over and over, creating what we thought was an infinite loop. But our benefactors, who are constantly looking over our experiences and focused on our overall long-term good, always saw this as a possibility and deemed this world and its trap a worthy learning experience. They know this loop isn't infinite and bade us to figure it out with minimal help to maximize our growth. They did, however, provide a way for us to summon our dragons through the nodes. Those of us in the second group with comm devices have been receiving messages about our struggle with hints to our salvation. And they are being instructed to release tidbits to assist others while withholding anything that would compromise us and our overall growth in highest good. Recently, those messages have been escalated with the arrival of some of our dragons. The dragon riders, whose dragons have arrived, are now instructing the others on how to summon their fire breathers without impeding the experiencer's growth. Receiving these instructions is quite the shock, especially to the first group of second worlders without comm devices. And yet the instructions themselves are even more demanding. Keep in mind that everything, good, bad, indifferent, is a matter of choice. Everyone here has the choice in every moment to select a perspective of darkness or light, good or bad, happy or sad, despite or in accordance with what is actually going on. What you tell yourself is not all that is occurring. Only your selection of a very small view of it. Actually, you aren't doing anything in this world but experiencing choices you already made. Remember the start and end points to manifesting previously mentioned? Well, you've been doing that all along, only you've been doing it on autopilot, which leaves you with a diminished view of your experience that looks and feels like cause and effect. Wake up, Dorothy, Cletus, you're not in Kansas anymore. The system has had you in its grip for a very long time. And your little dog, too. How it works is you, through your benefactor, set a string of events for you to experience with start and end points. How you get from one start point to its end is left to you to choose from a string of options. You make your choice of perspective for the journey, and then you step off from the start point. At no time during your trip Does the endpoint move or deviate in any way, no matter what decisions you make or actions you take? Huh? How can that be? You're crazy. I mean, what the? Follow me here along a bit. Suspending disbelief for a bit. I believe I warned about that requirement at the start of this manifesto. So, on your journey with an endpoint that never deviates, wait. My disbelief alarm is still going off. Okay, I dialed it down. Please continue. On your way to the endpoint that never moves, you make decisions and do stuff, but not to affect the endpoint. No, your decisions and actions are you adjusting your mirrors, your seat, the AC, when and where to stop for fuel, food, and bathroom breaks. But all the while, your destination is locked into the GPS. That is why I said you can do no wrong once you accept your naivety, your gifts, and the responsibility of knowing where you're going and why. There is no doubt in my mind that you will reach your journey's never moving endpoints. The only doubt is yours. How you perceive your travel between your start and endpoints is entirely up to you and your choices. The priority is on your experience of it and making it worthy of your growth. You can adjust your perception of your travels to make them as rough, bleak, dark, confrontational, and desperate, or as joyful, happy, comforting, pleasantly challenging, and rewarding as you desire. It all depends on the orders you place through your heart talk by what you focus on. Living life is about the perception of the experience inside you, not on its actions and causes. Some may think they don't know what their endpoints are. To which I'll say, that's because you're choosing not to know and live your experience that way. But your signposts are all around you. I can't tell you what they are and what they say. My P-win, that's perspective, intent, will, wants, imagination, and needs. My P-win shows only my signpost. I do not know. I do know some things about all of our paths only because I choose to know and I don't get in the way of knowing. These are: one, our perspective determines our attitude along our path and the flavor, sad, happy, etc., we perceive along the path. Two, our endpoints are immutable and only matter during our trek if we choose to make them matter. Three, we will reach all of our endpoints eventually. Four, we each set our own endpoints. We each set our own endpoints before we started our journeys. Five, our endpoints are not physical places or things, but instead are states or conditions you reach inside you. And six, understanding our P-win, that means being honest with ourselves about it, is key to getting the most out of our experiences between our start and end points.
Wow.
That is end of episode 3.
Wow. I mean, if you think about the freedom that in the reduction of stress of that, of knowing that you're starting, you can't jeopardize your end point. Now you can choose a path and get various experiences, and you have the choice of that based on your perspective and your attitude. But there's a certain part of not worrying about being wrong that feels like like you
Mhm.
sell and actually experience.
Oh, but there's more. And if you call now, there's a lot more that we don't know.
Yeah.
The only way we get to know it, to get to know it, is admit that you're naive about it.
Right.
If you can't admit you're naive, then your cup
Right.
is full of something. I don't
Yes.
know what, but it's not the answer. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you'd be living that answer.
That's right. That's awesome.
But when you think about it, from one perspective, we're at the rock bottom. It's all upward from here if we choose for it to be.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Because it's based on what we see. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. But based on what we believe. Yeah. Perspective. Oh,
Very good.
That's good.
I like overacting. Did that make it
Better
easier?
than overreacting.
Yeah, exactly. Did that make it easier to follow along, or did that get in your way?
Not at all. No, I thought it was good. I think it keeps it like it just makes it fresher and like more relatable. I like it.
And I am fresh.
Fresh.
I didn't even know you were acting. I thought it was just organic, like part of what was going on, part of the reading.
It kind of is.
Well, I wrote it.
Yeah.
I wrote every word in there,
Mhm.
and I ad-libbed to hear a few in the moment here and there. But most of that was written. I just acted it out.
Yeah.
By whatever struck, was striking.
Yeah.
Because I feel for you to have to go through my reading.
Oh.
I enjoy it.
It's like a story. You're unfolding a story in front of us, and we're on a journey. And
this is just part of me.
Yeah.
This is part of me accepting things because there is a little bit of an insecurity in me that anytime I have someone's attention, I must value it. I must do everything not only to make it good, but to make it better. And then the next time make it even better.
Yeah, I know.
It puts pressure on me, and this is something I'm trying to resolve. But how do I do it where I keep your highest good and my highest good in mind as I go about it?
Yeah.
When I feel either one of our highest goods falling off, then I pull back. I'm learning that. But you're getting to hear it as I was experiencing the thought of it, as I was working through putting a narrative, putting a story behind it, made me confront every point along the way, and I wrote it as I was thinking it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It feels like things that I'm living through are going along with that story as well. It's like everything is about. I don't know, resonates very much with my life story right now.
Well, it's kind of like a haunted house, because you're going through all of my you're in my mind. You're in my mind. You get all my ghosts and goblins and whatever that are in there, because this is how I think. Maybe not the exact words, but this is how I process things.
But the interesting thing is, and thank you for sharing the journey with us, because the interesting thing is to see it unfold like that. I mean, again, no outline, you don't know yet what the last chapter of the book's going to be. It's unfolding as it goes.
Each time I sit down, I pick up right where I left off, and I have no plan.
Yeah.
That is how I've done this since the very beginning. None of this is planned. I don't even have I don't have an outline. I don't have a plan. I just sit down and start writing.
You sit down with
focus
it.
I focus. Yeah. I read the last page where I left off, and I get back into the flow, and I just start writing.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God,
interesting.
Sorry.
Oh, we're putting Jenny to sleep.
It's your bedtime story again.
No, it's full moon today, and then this there's a lot of energy going on right now.
Yeah.
Oh, so werewolf energy.
Mm-hmm.
Werewolf energy's out.
Mm-hmm.
Dragon energy is too.
Yes,
Just
it
saying
is.
that.
Oh, dragon energy isn't
Yeah.
stopping right now.
Mm-mm.
So you can summon your dragons.
Hmm.
Jenny already has. She had one over her house
Yes.
in the shape of a cloud.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. That
It was
a
a
great
dragon.
picture.
It was a dragon in the
Yeah.
shape of a cloud.
Can
Can you imagine?
dragon in the shape of a cloud?
I know they have to hide sometime. For them, they have to hide.
For those who can't handle it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and she had the mascot for us this evening. As well.
Yeah.
The
Show,
dragon
yeah.
mascot.
Show us. Yes. That's our new dragon mascot for.
His name is Cinder.
I love it. That's awesome.
That's good. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right.
You're a lot brighter than you look. I meant that in your highest good. All righty.
Everybody good?
I think we're good.
Yeah. Bye, everybody. Let us know if you want a transcript.
Yeah, let us know if you want it.